Hello, everybody. I hope that you're well and that you're having an awesome week so far, or wherever you are in your week. I hope you had a lovely weekend. So thank you so much for joining me here on my channel. I am so excited to welcome you here. And if it's your first time, please do go through the different videos on my channel to just explore a little bit more about human design. If you've pulled your body graph and it's the first time you've ever seen your charts, again, please use the videos just to help you gain an understanding of the charts and the magic that it holds for you. So this week I wanted to talk about human design in slightly more of a broader sense, i.e., what are the many different ways that human design can help you and support you with? You know, so many people ask me, well, what is it? Like when I talk about it, they're like, well, what is it? You know, or if I'm talking to somebody and, you know, I can see that they're struggling with something and I'll just say, well, you know, what does your design say? And then we'll have a look. Or if I know their design, normally I'm the person in the room kind of going, well, you know, this is kind of according to your design, or this is the shadow side of your design, so i.e. the least optimal expression of it. So it's really, it can be used in so many different ways. And I think because of that, human design is essentially a hard sell, right? And I'm going to do it like this, a hard sell. And the reason for this is because when you have personality tests like the Enneagram and things, you know, other kind of personality tests, it's easy, right? We can define a marketing message around it. We can describe it and we can just say, well, you know, take this test and it's going to give you a bunch of traits related to your personality. And it's either going to get you closer to understanding who you are or a little bit further away. But either way, it's going to give you an overview, right? When you pull something like human design and you kind of get this big chart and you get these planetary symbols and you get all these numbers, it just feels hard. And actually 3.5 years ago when I first came across it, that was one of the reasons I stepped away from it. And I'm a learner, right? I'm a learn-it-all. I love learning. I love diving into things, but it wasn't easy for me to figure out at a glance. It wasn't easy for me to understand. And I knew that in order to understand it, I would have to dive deeper into it. So the aim of my channel and the aim of all my little videos and the aim of anything that I share really is just to give you a glimpse into what your chart can help you with and the many different facets of your life that it can support you with if you are curious, if you are interested. And obviously some of the videos as well help you sort of unpack your chart from a very high level perspective. And if you ever want to dive deeper, then please do reach out to me. You can go to my website, effiemoss.com, and we can, you know, book in a session and we can also have a chat about it. So just please do, you know, if you feel that's something you'd like to do, then by all means do reach out to me. If not, then just pop your questions down below because I love having a conversation in the comments, as you all know. So let's start with probably a view that I didn't expect it to help me with. And for many of you that actually know me in my community, and for those of you who don't, I am a mum to a 13.5-year-old young lady who is also a projector. And my husband is a manifesting generator. So you'll sometimes hear me refer to especially their designs because I know them so well. And when, as Alice has been growing up, you know, we've always stumbled across things like the fact that she's always likes to rest. She's, you know, very independent in her own mind. She eats dinner kind of like midday onwards. You know, she's very intuitive. And in fact, to the point that teachers have kind of often told me she notices everything. Almost like it's a surprise, right? That this little girl would notice everything, especially when she was a young child. And it didn't surprise me at all that I discovered that Alice was a projector. But knowing this, how does that help me parent her? Because obviously you have a set of values when you're parenting your children, right? You know, you're hopefully working in tandem as a team with your partner, or if you're raising your child on your own, you know, then you're going to be raising your child to the best of your ability and, you know, using everything that you have in order to be able to feed, clothe, raise your child, give them, you know, the best possible toolkit for life, right? So that they can dip into that as they go on and have their own journey. And so what I didn't want was to actually change the way that we parented Alice. I wanted to understand Alice a little bit more, but also knowing that the person that she is at 13.5 isn't going to be the person that she'll be in her 20s, 30s, 40s and 50s. So I was like, well, how do I do this? You know, what value can human design give me as a parent to help me understand my daughter, to help me create an environment that's healthy for her, to help me understand the nuances that are very unique to my Alice. And it really blew my mind because the first thing I looked at was her digestion, because I was like, we have a world that tells us, have nutritional breakfast because that's what fuels us during the day, eat these types of things, don't eat these types of things. Don't eat too late after night, don't eat too late after this certain time, things like that. And Clive and I have always battled with Alice in terms of her eating habits because she's not a breakfast eater, and it doesn't matter what you put in front of her. Even if we go out for breakfast as a family, it's almost like the child under the hood, right, hiding like this. She really doesn't want to be there. And it's at one point I just thought, oh, it's teenage years, right? It's something we're going through as teenage years. But I've also noticed with Alice that since she's a little girl that she has a sound. So when she eats food that she really loves, and it's the Greek in her, i.e. comes from me, she makes a sound which kind of goes because she really, really loves her food. And she doesn't love like sweet stuff. She loves food. So you put Greek food in front of her, you give her food to cook. At the moment, she's very into kind of Japanese food and Asian cooking. And she's doing all this on her own, by the way. She literally said to me the other week, when Clive wasn't here, Mum, move out of the way, I'm going to make a roast dinner. And I was like, what? But the fact that I burn everything is like probably the reason why she did that. So she has this love for food. And I've seen this develop in her since she was a little girl. So when you know that about somebody, but then you kind of can observe that they're not eating at the supposed times, you then kind of go, well, maybe there's different time, right? And we're aware enough to step back and go, you know what, maybe the advice that everybody is giving is right for them. It's right for the lens that they look at through their family with, or it's right for their personalities. But clearly with Alice, it was something different. And so when I looked at her design, it very clearly told me that Alice likes environments that are very dark, sublight, that her digestion system is very, very simple, that she likes to eat, these types of cuisines, so changing things up. But the times that she likes to eat needs to be after the sun has risen completely and almost like at dusk, right? So as everything is settling down, which is really interesting. And I didn't want to give her, say to her, well, this is what your design says, so this is what we must do, because we have to allow our children also the room to explore themselves and allow them to explore the journey themselves. But I also didn't want to get stressed, right? I didn't want to be like putting pressure on her and forcing her to do something and eat because that's what everybody should do. So we now know, like looking and observing Alice and having done this for the last few years, that she's very excited about food, but she eats it like when she has risen and when she has kind of settled into her day, then she'll start thinking about food. And then her dinner time isn't at like 6:30, or 7 o'clock, like Clive and I's. She'll want it later. In fact, mine sometimes at 5:30 because I've got to go earlier. And that's just my alarm bells, right? That's sort of very much to do with my digestive system. So it's really interesting. So how do you do that, right? How do you balance 3 different people's digestive systems and find a time where you all sit around the table and you enjoy a meal together? Well, what we've discovered is that maybe we're not all eating dinner, right? Maybe Clive and I are eating dinner and Alice is joining us at the table, and maybe she's just having a snack. So maybe she's, I don't know, having some nuts or something. She's having a snack. She doesn't feel like it, or because she's eaten slightly before. We still regroup as a family. We still have that family time around the dinner table. But rather than because somebody's in the kitchen cooking a meal, we must all eat the same thing, we must all be eating at the same time, we've started to honour the ebbs and flows of when we fancy eating and when we don't. So also we'll find that Alice likes to eat snacks in the evening. And this isn't a video about Alice, by the way, but it's just to explain, like, one of the key areas it's really helped us with is that she'll have snacks in the evenings. So yes, of course, snacks in the evenings, you have to be selective about the type of snacks that they have. So she'll have things like, she might have some nuts, she might have some fruit, not high sugared fruit, just something gentle, right? But that enables her to kind of still lean into her digestive system. And the amazing thing is to have watched her. She has grown and she is a healthy young lady. And, she's so much happier. And I watch her almost, flow into her food, right, and make that sound when she's really enjoying something. So it's really, really helped. And it's not, to be a know-it-all about our children. And don't forget, with children, your auras don't develop until they're around 7 years old. And so just because your digestive system might say cold, for goodness sake, please don't go feeding babies just cold food, give them what they need in their bodies as a baby, as a child. And then they will watch them, right? Observe the things that they do and they don't like, because you have to go through that sifting and sorting process. We didn't explore this with Alice until the last few years, and as I said, she'll be 14 in a few months. And so we're kind of coming through that. Well, we have done that observation with her. She knows the foods that she likes. She's put down the foods that she doesn't. She explores food for her in a very healthy way because she loves to cook as well. So I feel like we've done it at a time where it's right. And where also, there was the likelihood of getting into that tension with her, trying to make her eat when we ate, trying to get her to sit down at the dinner table, mistaking it for like teenage syndrome, when they've been, just sort of arguing back with you and just sort of like pushing your buttons a little bit. It wasn't all of that. And if we get that, it's because something isn't aligned with her. And knowing that she is a projector as well, I also know that her not self theme is bitter. So it will come across like she is cross, right? She is frustrated, all these things. And so now I know that about her, we kind of step back and go, you know what, just give her the space. That doesn't mean we don't parent her. It doesn't mean we don't give her boundaries. It just means that we can work a little bit closer with her design to help create a much more comfortable environment that we can all thrive in, right? And I feel like for me, that has been one of the most powerful things. The other part as well is her projectorism. It's the fact that at the moment she's living her design very much, she's a 1-3 profile. So she loves mysteries. She loves solving mysteries. She loves like mystery films. She's always talking about unsolved crimes. I mean, who she will continue to grow into is like fascinating to me. And this isn't something that comes from Clive and I, and we're like, this is like amazing. Her parents' evening last week, where every single teacher's telling me, she loves to research. She loves to research. Her research is really great. And inwardly, I'm just sitting there going, yep, it's her 1-3 profile at work. Her 1's all about investigatory. Her 3 is all about experiences, right? And the fact that she doesn't, we live on an island, the island's too small for her. And I can see that already in her. It has just lit up like our parenting to another level. It's just like enables us to really watch her live her design in the purest sense, and hopefully will help her kind of sift and sort conditioning and then discern what is for her and what isn't in a way that suits her, right? So when we talk about human design parenting, in its practical sense, it's that. It's just being able to give us a lens, and as parents, we like to think we know our children, but at the end of the day, they're growing as well and they're complex beings. And if there's something there that can just help us, even just a little bit, I've only talked about her digestion and the fact she's a projector, and I've mentioned her profile, but she has so many gifts in there. I mean, just amazing gifts, her channels in there are hilarious. She has the judgment channel, which I see at work pretty much all the time. The purpose of the judgment channel is that you'll be able to see something and almost because you're observing something, you can see the most efficient way it can be done. Just by knowing. That's the thing. Sometimes it's just by knowing. With Alice, with her 1-3 profile, it's going to be also from investigatory type activities and also the experiences she gains in her line 3, right? But if she says it and then people aren't open to receiving what she has to say, because she has a weight to be invited strategy as a projector, she'll get disheartened, and just think that maybe there's a problem, instantly think there's a problem with her, or start, with some negative self-talk. So it's really nice just to be able to sit her down and be able to say to her, well, actually, it's because of this. This is your strategy. This is what it means. How is that, what's happened at school this week? Can you see where that's come in? And often she's like, yeah, or not, or go away, mum, you're preaching. I get that too. But it's really interesting. And to watch this judgment channel, it can come across as very critical. So, the backseat driver in the car, right? She's 13 and a half. She's telling Clive and I how to drive. I mean, it's hilarious. I just chuckle at it now, because there would have been a time where I just would have got very cross and just thought, where's this coming from? Like, you can use a completely different lens on it. But once you have a light shining on it, you're like, okay, I understand what she's trying to do with this channel. She's just trying to tell us that there's a better way of doing this thing. But because she's 13 and a half, emotional intelligence is just still developing, right? And also she's, trying to figure out, she's always had very good language skills, but she's still refining that vocabulary and being able to adapt her tone so that the message lands in the way that she wants it to land and that it's heard. You can see all this learning. And I think because I'm a projector as well, and I have that ability to be able to see, and I can see things quite deeply. It's fascinating to me to watch her grow. I also have my dear friends, my lovely, lovely friends, and if they're watching this, they'll know who I mean as soon as I start talking. But they have twin baby girls who are coming up to be 2 this year, which we cannot believe. And they're both manifestor children, which is fascinating to me. And so I read, and both parents are generators, so both their parents are generators. And so we now have this situation where you have generators who like to do, and, like to do things that light them up and thrive and, and joyful and, just kind of have joy penetrate their lives, right? And we have manifestor children who are already showing these strong, independent, like fierce, kind of knowing their mind, curious little girls. Sometimes when their mum says something when we're talking, I'm like, yeah, I can, you can see it, this energy type starting to develop, right? And when I read their charts, it wasn't to say like, bring them up in this way, or you must do this, or this is what's going to happen in their lives, because no one can tell what's going to happen in someone's life, right? How you fill in the lines in between your story is always going to be completely up to you. But what we can do is create an environment for these little girls to thrive. So if we know that they're manifestors, then if that's all you take from it as an energy, their energy type, it's like, well, that they're going to want to be, they're going to want to be free to explore, right? So you're going to need to give them safety boundaries, because they're not going to know like what's hot and what's cold yet. They're going to have to figure that out themselves. They're going to need to fall over and maybe trip over something to realize that that's not right for them, as much as you want to protect them, right? But they're learning, they're quickly learning, and they're very, very curious. And manifestors as an energy type are powerhouses. They are the visionaries of the world. They will create movements. And these young ladies have got the humanitarian gate within their chart as well. So it's really amazing. And maybe we'll start to see that as they get older, they're going to start being very interested in things to do with the planet, things to do with humanity, right? They're going to be very, very connected to source because they're manifestors as well. And there were other elements of their charts. You could see gifts, you could see things. And, it wasn't to say like only focus on this, exclude everything else. It was just an awareness at this stage. At this stage, it is simply just an awareness. One of the other areas I'm always reluctant to do is relationship charts in typical kind of partner type situation, especially new relationships. You can run tandem charts. You can run 2 charts, 3 charts. You can run charts for families, right? You can run charts for teams in businesses. But I think with relationships as well, I have this view that whilst, yes, you can run the chart, I've run mine and my husband's charts, but then we've been together 24 years. We kind of know each other. There really aren't any surprises there, to be honest. And I think, we're in a safe environment and safe space where actually when we look at the charts, it isn't really going to change necessarily the lens into which we look at each other. We look at it in the sense of like, where are the areas that we can explore deeper, and then we can get closer, especially as Alice is now growing up. In a few years, she'll be off to uni and moving out of house. Well, if she wants to go to uni, that is. So she'll be moving on, and at the end of the day, I don't want to look at my husband in 5-6 years time and kind of go, who are you, right? So the relationship chart has really helped to realize that we have these magnetic channels, and that for us, in order for us to thrive, we like to have fun together, which makes complete sense, right? But I'm a projector, so I need this like deep knowing, this learning, this ability to have these quiet moments, which is wonderful. But he's also a manifesting generator, somebody who likes to do. And, he'll get frustrated if I can't do. And then I get frustrated if he can't sit still. But knowing these dynamics about us has just kind of almost popped all that down. And you just kind of go, well, I'm happy that he's happy doing all of his projects and running around, keeping himself busy. And if I continue to watch that, I'm going to get very tired. And I'm over here kind of doing all my stuff in my businesses and, working with people and doing what I love. And then we can come back together again and hopefully have a good exchange. The nice thing about Clive as well is that he has a 2-4 profile and I have a 4-6. So his 2 is very much his hermit side. So he needs his own time in the evening, and he often has that in the evenings. Whereas I'll go to bed early and decompress before my man Gen husband comes into our room, so that my energy can kind of like, sort of, yeah, decompress is a nice word, to decompress. And so it works. And actually, we've been doing that for years. It's not just something that's happened just because I know our charts. But I'm always reluctant to do it in an early relationship. So I have friends who are early relationship, and I've declined reading the charts simply because I think you need that exploratory time at the beginning of your relationship to work out for yourselves how you feel. Right? Does this feel good to me? Do I, is this somebody I'm gonna love? Is this somebody I can see myself spending more time with? Do I enjoy spending time? But if you throw a chart in design in the middle of that and you say, well, actually, this is where you should be connecting, this is what you should be, where you don't connect, you're already adding a layer of fuss to something that's already should be fun and exciting and highly energized. And really, you should be using your inner knowing and your feelings to be able to discern if somebody's right. And hopefully you trust yourself enough to kind of know what is and isn't right for you, right? So I feel like human design can be used for relationship readings, but probably a little bit later, like as things have kind of settled and you're more sure. It isn't going to be, like often we do with the tarot and the oracle cards, where we'll try and look to see what's going to happen. Oracle and tarot aren't really for that. Oracle tells you what's going on inside of you. Tarot tells you what's going on immediately outside of you. But you will always change that path because you're making 1,000 decisions each day, which is why often when you have a tarot reading or an oracle reading, people will say, oh, it doesn't come true. Well, actually, at the time of that reading, as long as it's from somebody who is highly connected to source, that reading will be right. But the moment you leave that reading, you might make a decision that then just kind of sends you off path, right? And so it's the same with this, human design can't necessarily give us a future reading. It won't tell you if this is going to be your lifelong partner or if you're going to have a long, happy life. But what it can tell you is what you need to strengthen that connectivity, what you need to strengthen those bonds, the things that you can tap into to keep that excitement alive. Because even for me, after 24 years, you can become very comfortable. We like the fact that we're comfortable, but we even had a conversation the other day about needing to do more date nights because we need to make sure that we keep the excitement within our relationship. And the design has helped with that. So I think human design does help relationships, but again, I would caution when you actually had that reading for that relationship. The other area I absolutely love human design for is business. And this is not just for you singly as a leader or as a business owner, but also you as a team within a team, right? I have a huge passion for team dynamics anyway. I love organizational structure. It is part of my gifts to do that. And also within my gifts, I have a natural leadership ability, which is lovely to hear. And when I saw that, I did kind of shift a little bit. I was like, oh, but now when I sit in with that, I understand it. And I then look back at all my career, my businesses, my careers, my consulting, anything that I've done and kind of going, actually, it makes sense, right? So it's really nice to be able to reflect back and use your design to kind of go, well, where have I seen this show up that's true to form? Or where have I seen the least expression of this show up? And actually, I know I need to do some work here to enjoy the highest expression of it. But I think as well, team dynamics for me is a beautiful one, because if you are building a company, for example, we talk about from a HR perspective, finding people who are a good fit. But no matter how simple you make that interview process or even how complicated, I mean, years ago, I was in an interview process where I was flown to Germany for it, came back, and I think it was like 3-4 levels deep. I mean, it was draining by the time we reached the end of it, all because they were so intent on finding the right person. Now, there are many strengths to that, and there are many weaknesses to those types of approaches. Also asking people to fill out forms online, it's never really going to give you a sense. Asking somebody just to do a personality test. I know sometimes with the big consultancies, they'll often ask you to do like academic type tests, mathematical type tests, just to kind of understand how your brain is wired. Well, you might be having a bad day. You might be having a good day. And those tests can go any which way. So the truest version of you will always show up in your design, because it shows you strategically how your brain operates. It tells you about your digestive system. It tells you about the environments you like to operate in. It tells you how you communicate. It informs you the gifts that you have, so you know what you bring to the table, right? It helps you to understand your personality, not just from the perspective that you see it, but from how others see it as well. Okay. So it enables you and shows you all these different layers. So now when you put all those layers down on the table, and it comes from just a quick reading of somebody's body graph, quite honestly, you could just look at it and kind of go, well, it's this, and this, right? You then have the truest picture of that person. And then if you observe them, so you put them into trial, or maybe you're going to do like say a 12-week probation period or something. And in that 12-week probation period, if we were really right in what we did and we observed them, you could then match them to I can see where they're expressing their highest expression of this, but I can also see where they're expressing the least expression of this. This is where they need support. This is where we can help them. This is where we can really help them grow and develop, right? And that's why I love it. And it isn't hard. It isn't hard. It's just being open enough and willing enough to actually use it as a tool, as a framework within the HR process of the business. If you are thinking of building a business with different founders as well, you can do and I've done this because I've had a few opportunities come my way, and I've run the pentacharts for 3 of the owners, the founders, just to kind of see where the skill set gap is, and to see from a purpose point of view, what their true objective is, right? What channels they have. Are there any conflicts in those channels with somebody else? Are the positions that they think they want the right ones for them? And it's fascinating. I just love it so much. So I think, from that perspective, it is absolutely magical. There are lots of people also talking about human design from the point of view of helping you to be able to market your business. And that's simply because within human design, you have you have your gates within Mercury, so your gifts within Mercury. Mercury is all about communication. And then you have your gates within Jupiter, which is all about your blessings. But you also have your throat center, right? And your throat center is all about communication. And within human design, all of the different channels, all of the different centers within your, the shapes within your body graph, they're all trying to express themselves through the throat. And so we have all of the chart, by the way. Everybody has all of the chart, and everybody will experience all of those gifts. But it's just whether you actually have consistent access to those gifts, or whether you borrow the energy for those gifts from other people around you, right? That's the nuance. It's just knowing and discerning, actually, this is me, this is borrowed energy, so therefore it's not sustainable, right? Or this isn't right for me. I don't like this. I'm trying it on. I don't like it. No, thank you. I'm going to return it, right? It's having the awareness to be able to do that. But we're running at life so quickly. We have families, we're busy, we're working, we're trying to manifest an amazing life. And, what we're not doing is actually standing still long enough to actually look at ourselves and the contribution that we're actually making to our lives. It was funny because I was talking to my husband about date night the other day, and I guess it's this morning, sorry. I was talking to him about date night this morning, and I said to him, well, what's your ideal date night? If we're gonna do this, we might as well do stuff that we both like. And he went, you know what? I don't know. So we had a conversation and kind of unpacked, well, what's an ideal date night for him, one for me? Well, let's try it and see if it'll be fun, right? And it just was a really nice conversation. And I watched a movie called oh my gosh, what's it called? It's got Katie Holmes in it. And it's all about the law of attraction. It's a lovely, lovely film. I must remember what it is. When I do, I'll put it in the comments on Netflix. And it's a really lovely film. And I like watching it because it's actually quite a peaceful film, but it's just watching law of attraction and how it unfolds in somebody's life. Such a lovely film. And there's a line in there where he says, I think it's to her daughter, well, what do you want? For your birthday, your birthday party. And she said, well, I don't know. And he said, well, how do you know what to ask for if you don't know what you want? Right. And it's that's so true. How do you know what to ask for, i.e. from the universe, and put it out there? if you don't know what you want. And we don't spend that time looking at ourselves in enough detail to understand ourselves or even the people around us, because we're so busy running 100 miles an hour. But there's a lot of power in stillness. And I think there's a lot of power in kind of standing still and, you know, taking a moment to look at the charts and just pick a couple of things and go, well, what do these mean? And if you're not sure, you know, just pop them down in any of the comments on any of my videos, and I will absolutely share as much, you know, what I can. Or feel free to go to my website. You can also jump into my inbox, because there's, you know, you can contact me through the website, you know, anything, you know, I'm here to help. And I really just, it's why I'm so passionate about it. And I think, you know, as I go forward and build, you know, my future, this is infused in it. Human design infuses that future, because I cannot now not unsee it. And not in an annoying way, right? At least I hope it's not annoying, but in a practical way, in that I can see the benefits it can be used in different scenarios, right? So in this video, we've looked at parenting, relationships, businesses, we've looked at teams, right? But there are so many other different variations as well, probably variations we hadn't even thought of. And maybe hopefully somebody one day in a room will go, well, I know, let's look at human design. And by the way, if you're a bit hung up over this whole time thing, because a couple of people have said to me, oh, I'm not sure about my birth time. You know, that's okay. Like we can run a few charts to figure out like which feels closer to you. There's always going to be a nuance. It may not be 100% accurate because the time's not accurate. A friend of mine, you know, he had his birth date was fine. He's wasn't sure on the timing, so we looked at the timing, and it was amazing. He was a manifestor, and then he messaged me about 9 o'clock in the evening one night, and he said, I've got the proper time from my mum. And I was like, oh great, okay, what is it? And it was literally an hour out of what we looked at. And he changed to a generator. He literally changed to a generator. And I was like, this is really interesting, right? And I was like, well, that's why some parts didn't fit. Now we can see why. Like, and it was funny because I kept saying to him generator as well. I was like, so yeah, so it's really interesting. So I suppose probably not the best story to tell you in terms of like, don't worry so much about the time, because the time is important. But you know, try to guess, and then we can run a few charts just to see what's more like you, or at least to see what the differences are. But times are needed because it calculates the conscious and the unconscious placements of your planets and your gifts at the time of your birth, and also 88 days before your birth, which is why it likes to know the time of date, time and date of your birth. The place is just to ensure that we get it on the right time zone, because if you say 4 p.m. but you're in Sydney, then that's actually going to be something completely different than the universal clock. So, you know, and it's because it's looking up here. So it's nothing like odd, right? It's not like some like, you know, voodoo type stuff. It's nothing like that. It's just there is a practical reason to needing to understand that information, because it will give you the best possible picture. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do, please do let me know down below in the comments. You know, share with your friends. It's always so lovely to see more and more people joining the channel, and we are growing, which is so lovely. And if you haven't subscribed, please do, and hit that notification button so that you can know when my videos are coming through. But I look forward to seeing you into the next video, and you know, give us some thoughts about, you know, how possibly human design can help you with different aspects of your life. Let me know. Much love, everybody. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.